In 1985, the average house cost 3x the average salary.
Well, the economy is shaky, but there is a silver lining.
All right, lower mortgage rates are stimulating the real estate market, and as Fox 5's Jody Goldberg reports, after sitting on the sidelines, buyers and sellers are jumping in.
Today, it costs 12x. Nobody made a decision to destroy housing affordability. And that's the most terrifying part. Because if there was a villain, we could vote them out. We could fire them. We could do something. But there wasn't. It just happened quietly across decades. And now an entire generation is on the other side of a door that has been very politely, very legally locked from the inside. Picture this. It's 1975. You're 27 years old. You didn't go to college. You work a factory job, or maybe you teach elementary school, and you buy a house. A real house backyard, 3 bedrooms, mortgage you can cover on one income. You save for 2 years and you're in. That generation is now in their 70s and 80s, and they watch their grandchildren engineers, nurses, people with actual degrees splitting rent with roommates at 35, being told by every financial calculator on the internet that home ownership is mathematically out of reach. Here are the numbers that explain why. Right now, 75% of American households, over 100 million families, cannot afford a median-priced new home. That home costs $459,826. The median household income hasn't come close to keeping pace. Home prices have risen 53% since 2019. Wages up 24%. The income you'd need to comfortably buy a median home today is $126,700 a year. Only 6 million of the nation's 46 million renters can hit that number. This is not a personal failure. This is a structural collapse. And to understand how we got here, you need to go back, because there are actually 3 separate forces that all collided at once. For most of the 20th century, the housing market was boring in the best way. Home values grew roughly 4% a year. The price-to-income ratio sat at a steady 2 to 3 times. In 1981, the median first-time buyer was 29 years old. Then came 2020. Mortgage rates dropped to historic lows, hitting 2.99% in June 2021. Suddenly buying was cheap, demand exploded, and prices went vertical. Home values shot up 45% from pre-pandemic levels. 5 years of typical appreciation crammed into 2. And then the Fed did what the Fed had to do. It raised rates aggressively to fight inflation. Mortgage rates went from 2.99% to 6.82% in roughly 3 years. On a $300,000 mortgage, that rate jump alone adds $580 to your monthly payment. Not because the house got more expensive, just because money got more expensive. But here's the part that almost nobody talks about, and it's the reason this crisis is so much worse than it looks. During 2020 and 2021, millions of existing homeowners locked in mortgages at 2 or 3%. When rates doubled in 2022, something strange happened. Those homeowners became financially trapped. Selling meant giving up their historically cheap loan and buying back into the market at 6 or 7%. The math is brutal. A homeowner with a $400,000 mortgage at 2.9% pays $1,665 a month. If they sell and take a new mortgage on just the remaining balance at today's rates, their payment jumps to $2,346. That's $681 more every month, forever, so they stay put. And who can blame? Bankrate found that 54% of U.S. homeowners say there is no mortgage rate at which they'd feel comfortable selling their home right now. Only 3% would sell if rates stayed above 6%. Existing home sales have dropped to their lowest level since the 2009 housing crash. Baby boomers who are 60 and older own 38% of all homes, despite being just 21% of the population, and 71% of them plan to age in place. The supply that the market desperately needs is sitting inside homes that their owners are financially incentivized never to sell. Prices can't fall because inventory can't move. The market is frozen, and first-time buyers are the ones left standing outside in the cold. But wait, why aren't we just building more? This is the part that actually makes people angry. The U.S. has a housing shortage of at least 4 million homes. Some estimates from HUD put the affordable housing gap at 7.1 million units. Meanwhile, the U.S. population has nearly doubled since 1960, and single-family housing starts have remained roughly the same. The culprit, according to virtually every housing economist, is zoning. For over a century, local zoning laws have made it illegal to build anything denser than a single-family home on most residential land. Apartments, duplexes, townhomes outlawed. In Washington, D.C., 36% of all residential land is zoned exclusively for single-family homes. Much of it sits right next to subway stations. In San Francisco, the median home costs over $1 million. In Houston, which has no formal zoning, the median price is $310,500. The evidence is clear. But zoning reform is hard because the people who benefit from it, most future buyers, have no political voice. And the people who block it most effectively, existing homeowners, have enormous incentive to keep things exactly as they are. More supply means their asset appreciates more slowly. NIMBYism isn't irrational. It's just deeply, structurally unfair to everyone who got here too late. And it's producing a wealth gap that should alarm everyone. Here's the most shocking statistic in this entire crisis. The median net worth of a homeowner in America is $400,000. The median net worth of a renter is $10,400. Renters possess less than 3% of the wealth of homeowners, not because renters are bad with money, because home equity is the single largest wealth-building tool in this country, and an entire generation is being priced out of it. The median age of a first-time homebuyer hit an all-time high of 40 years old in 2025. That number was 29 in 1981. The NAR estimates that delaying home ownership from 30 to 40 costs the average person around $150,000 in lost equity over a lifetime. That's not just a personal finance problem. That's a generational wealth transfer from people who couldn't buy to people who already owned. More than a third of young buyers who do manage to get in now rely on cash gifts from family to cover the down payment. Home ownership is becoming something you inherit the ability to access, not something you earn. And that's a fundamentally different country from the one that was promised. Here's where I want to be honest with you. There's no clean resolution here. No plot twist where everything gets fixed. Places like Minneapolis and Montana have shown that zoning reform actually works. Minneapolis added 12% to its housing supply in 5 years just by relaxing lot requirements. It's possible. It just requires political will that most cities still don't have. What I want you to take from this isn't despair. It's clarity. Because the narrative that young people can't afford homes because of avocado toast or poor spending discipline, that narrative is not just wrong. It's insulting. This is a decades-long structural failure, and the first step to fixing structural failures is naming them correctly. If this made you think differently about the housing crisis, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, do you think your generation will ever be able to own? I genuinely want to know.